Muddy water, brown, cloudy, undrinkable. And then, 20 minutes later, clear. No filter, no machine, no electricity, just a plant. A plant you've probably walked past 100 times and never thought twice about. No expensive equipment sitting on your counter. No plastic cartridge that expires in 3 months. No technician coming to your house to install anything, just a seed. Crushed between 2 rocks, dropped into a bucket, and the water clears itself. This is Moringa oleifera. Some people call it the drumstick tree. Some call it the miracle tree. The seeds cost almost nothing. The tree grows in weeks, and the method takes about 20 minutes. What you're watching right now is something called natural bioflocculation. Big word. Simple idea. This plant pulls contaminated particles out of water, binds them together, and drops them to the bottom, like a magnet for dirt. And this isn't new, this isn't fringe, this isn't conspiracy. This is science, tested, published, and quietly practiced across 3 continents. The kind of science that doesn't need a press release because it's been working long before anyone knew what a press release was. Right now, in parts of Sudan and Malawi, communities use this exact method to clean river water. Not because they read a blog post, because they never forgot. Researchers at Uppsala University in Sweden published peer-reviewed studies on Moringa's ability to reduce water turbidity by up to 99.9% in some test conditions. The World Health Organization has documented it. Engineers Without Borders have deployed it in the field. The journal Colloids and Surfaces published research confirming the mechanism. And yet, if you asked 100 people on the street how to clean water without a filter, not one would mention a seed. Not one. The U.S. Military Survival Manual references plant-based water purification methods. In ancient India, Sanskrit texts from over 2,000 years ago described using moringa seeds to clarify drinking. Water. Communities along the Niger River have used it for generations. Villagers in rural Haiti used it after the 2010 earthquake, when clean water infrastructure collapsed overnight. This isn't forgotten because it doesn't work. It's forgotten for a very different reason. Think about the water filtration industry for a second. It's a multi-billion-dollar market. Filters, cartridges, subscriptions, replacements. Every few months you're buying something new. Every few years the whole system needs upgrading. There's an entire economy built around the idea that clean water requires technology you have to purchase. Now imagine if people actually knew, that a single tree in their backyard could dramatically clarify contaminated water with 0 ongoing cost. Who profits from that? Nobody. Which is exactly why it never shows up in an ad. It works too well to be profitable. There's no patent on a seed. There's no subscription for sunlight. There's no upsell for something that grows back every year and produces thousands of seeds without asking for anything in return. They didn't suppress this knowledge through some coordinated conspiracy. They just stopped teaching it. And that's almost worse, because the information didn't disappear in a dramatic way. It just quietly faded, replaced by convenience, replaced by commerce, replaced by the assumption that newer always means better. You've probably seen moringa at the health food store. Green powder in a supplement jar. $17 a bag. They sell it as a superfood. And they're not wrong. It's packed with vitamins, amino acids, and minerals that make nutritionists genuinely excited. But here's what the label doesn't tell you. The same compound that makes it a nutritional powerhouse is the same compound that cleans water. It's called a cationic protein, a water-soluble protein with a positive electrical charge. And it's been doing its job in nature and in human communities for thousands of years. You weren't missing new technology. You were missing old knowledge. Knowledge that existed long before the supplement industry figured out how to put it in a jar and charge you 3 times what it's worth. Here's how it actually works. No chemistry degree required. When you stir crushed moringa seed powder into dirty water, something happens at the microscopic level that is both extraordinarily simple and quietly remarkable. Dirty water, river water, well water, flood water, is full of tiny suspended particles. Clay, silt, bacteria, organic matter. These particles have a negative electrical charge. They repel each other, like 2 magnets pushed together the wrong way. That's why they stay suspended. That's why water stays cloudy no matter how long you leave it sitting. Now, moringa seeds contain proteins with a positive charge. When those proteins enter the water, they are immediately attracted to the negative particles. They bind to them, they surround them, they coat them, they make them heavy, and those heavier clusters, called flocks, slowly sink to the bottom. What's left on top? Clear water. The technical term is flocculation, but really it's just chemistry doing what chemistry does. Opposites attract. The plant figured this out millions of years before we did, and encoded it into a seed small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Let's talk about how you actually do this. You need dry moringa seeds, the mature pods from the tree, long, angular, winged seeds with a papery husk. You can grow your own tree from seed. In a tropical or subtropical climate, moringa grows aggressively fast. We're talking weeks from seed to small tree, not years. It tolerates poor soil. It tolerates drought. It asks for almost nothing and gives back more than you'd expect. Or you can buy dried seeds online for a few dollars per pound, enough to treat hundreds of liters of water. Once you have your seeds, crack the outer husk and remove it. You want just the inner white seed kernel, the part that looks a little like a small macadamia nut. Then crush the kernels using a mortar and pestle, a flat rock, the bottom of a jar, whatever you have. Grind them into a fine powder. The finer the better. More surface area means more protein exposed, which means more contact with the contaminated particles in the water. Now add a small amount of clean water to your powder, just enough to make a thick paste, and stir it vigorously for about a minute. This step matters. It activates and suspends the proteins so they distribute evenly through the water you're treating. Think of it like blooming yeast before adding it to dough. Same principle. You're waking something up. For a standard liter of turbid water, you'll use roughly the powder of 2 seeds. For very dirty water, thick, murky, heavily contaminated water, increase to 4 or 5 seeds. Pour your paste into the water and stir rapidly for about 1 minute. This phase distributes the proteins throughout, every part of the water column. Then switch to slow, gentle stirring for 5 to 10 minutes. This phase is where the binding actually happens. Proteins meeting particles, flocks forming, clusters growing heavy enough to eventually sink. Then walk away. Give it 20 to 30 minutes of undisturbed rest. Come back. Look at your water. What was brown is now clear. Carefully pour off the top clear water through a simple cloth or cotton filter, which removes the settled flock layer sitting on the bottom. What you have now is visually clarified, dramatically reduced turbidity water. No electricity was used. No plastic was consumed. A seed did that. Here's what most people get wrong when they try this for the first time. First, using wet or immature seeds. The seeds must be dry, mature, harvested from fully developed pods that have already turned brown and woody on the tree. Immature seeds haven't developed their full protein concentration yet and simply won't perform. Second, skipping. The paste step. Dropping raw powder directly into water without making a paste first disperses the proteins unevenly and dramatically reduces effectiveness. The paste step is not optional. It is the step. Don't skip it. Third, using too little powder for the level of contamination. If your water is thick with mud, 2 seeds per liter won't be enough. Read your water visually before you start. Darker, murkier, more heavily loaded water needs more powder. Start with the recommended minimum and scale up based on what you see. Fourth, not stirring in 2 distinct phases. Fast stirring first to distribute, slow stirring second to allow binding. Skipping the slow stir means the flocks never fully form. You'll end up with cloudy water and the assumption that the method failed, when really you just rushed the process. Patience is part of the technique. Now let's talk about results. In controlled studies with highly turbid water, moringa flocculation has been shown to remove up to 99% of suspended solids. Bacterial levels drop dramatically, not because the protein kills bacteria directly, but because bacteria bind to the flock particles and sink with them, physically removed from the water column. In communities in Malawi, this method has been used to treat river water for entire villages using nothing but seeds, buckets, and cloth. 1 mature moringa tree can produce thousands of seeds per year. 1 person with basic knowledge can treat hundreds of liters of water per week. And if you want to scale, you plant more trees. There's no infrastructure required, no power grid, no maintenance contract, no spare parts to order. Just biology, doing what it has always done in the background, unnoticed, waiting for someone to pay attention again. Now the safety question, because you should be asking it. Is this water safe to drink directly after flocculation? The honest answer is, moringa treatment alone is not a complete purification system. It dramatically reduces physical contaminants and a significant portion of microbial load, but for reliable drinking water safety, you should follow it with one additional step: boiling, solar disinfection, leaving water in a clear plastic bottle in direct sunlight for 6 or more hours, or a simple activated charcoal filter made from burned wood. Moringa handles the first and biggest layer of the problem. A secondary step finishes it. Together, they give you genuinely clean, safe drinking water using tools you can source or make yourself anywhere in the world at almost no cost. This 2-stage combination has been used by survival instructors, humanitarian aid organizations, and off-grid communities on every inhabited continent. It's not a workaround. It's a complete, validated system. And here's the part that should make you stop and sit with it for a moment. This knowledge is ancient. In Egypt, along the banks of the Nile, plant-based coagulants were being used to treat water thousands of years before modern. Chemistry existed in West Africa, in South Asia, in Mesoamerica. Civilizations that had no laboratories, no electron microscopes, no peer-reviewed journals, still figured out how to produce clean water from nature. They observed, they tested, they failed, adjusted, and tested again. And then they passed the knowledge down, generation to generation, embedded in practice, woven into daily life. The knowledge existed long before anyone built a factory to bottle it, long before anyone figured out how to charge you monthly for access to it. These civilizations didn't have water treatment departments. They had trees. And they understood those trees deeply enough, not just to survive, but to build cultures that lasted for millennia. Which brings us to the real question underneath all of this. Not, does this plant work? The science settled that. The deeper question is, why do we know so much about the things we have to buy and so little about the things that grow for free? We can recite the filter specifications of a product we saw in a 30-second ad, but we can't name the tree that has been purifying water since before written language. We know our subscription renewal dates better than we know our own landscape. That's not natural, that's conditioned. That's what happens when knowledge gets replaced by products and solutions get replaced by services. The information didn't go anywhere. It's in research papers, it's in old villages, it's growing in backyards and along roadsides right now, producing seeds that nobody picks up in a world where millions of people still lack reliable access to clean water. The solution and the problem exist in the same era, separated only by what we've been taught to notice. If this video changed the way you see something as simple as a plant, if it made you question what else we've forgotten, what else we've quietly traded away in exchange for convenience, then share it with someone who thinks self-sufficiency is complicated or expensive or out of reach. Because the truth is, it never was. The knowledge was always there. We just got very good at being taught to look somewhere else.